What up, Sixth Graders? This is our new project and it's called Recycled. Guys, there are a lot of artists out there that focus on artwork in which you are using recycled material in order to make your artwork. Here's some examples coming at you. Recycled artwork's really cool because it usually comes at you in two different aspects. Either it's just artists using used materials just for the sense of what's the point in using materials that haven't been used? Why not just reuse and kind of help out the environment? Also, there's another aspect, which is when you're kind of making a statement. So for example, I've seen a lot of work that uses recycled plastics, and with the recycled plastics, maybe it makes like a sea creature or a whale or a turtle or something of that sort. You're kind of throwing a message out to people about recycling because it's important. It's important to our environment, and if there's a way as artists that one, we can help the environment by recycling, and by two, creating awareness out there and being an advocate for issues. For our recycled piece, what I want you to do is I want you to find some cardboard. I don't want you to go out and buy a new piece of cardboard. Nope. What I want you to do is I want you to find a piece of cardboard that could be stashed anywhere in your house, or check to see if maybe you got an Amazon box coming in or whatever the case may be, and use that cardboard to then create your next art piece.
Materials needed are paper, cardboard, pencil, an X-Acto blade, chalk pastels, and a little bit of black paint.
To get started, what you're gonna need is you're gonna need a piece of paper to draft on, to sketch on, to lay out your idea. You're gonna need a piece of cardboard that is the same size as that paper. And then you're also gonna want another piece of cardboard that can be used just to cut out. Now that we've got our materials, let's start sketching, and I'm gonna show you step by step how to do it. So with this project, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a nature scene, and we're gonna create a branch that kind of comes out from the side of the page. We're gonna create some leaves, and then we're gonna put a bird somewhere on the page that's gonna be sitting on the branch. So with this cardboard project, with cardboard, there are many layers to cardboard. One, there's the top layer, then there's a bottom layer, but in between, there's like these correlated, a divider that kind of gives it that spongy feel. And so with this project, what we're gonna do is we are going to have areas that are gonna be risen off of our cardboard. So our bird is actually going to be risen by cutting out our bird from another source of cardboard and putting that down. Some of our leaves are going to be cut out as well of the actual first layer of the cardboard. This is actually going to be like a relief, sculptural relief, where there's multiple layers. Some layers are going to be further back, other layers will be the top surface of the cardboard, and then the last layer would be the actual layer that's sitting on top that's a little closer. So with my draft paper, I'm going to decide how I want it to look. So with my branch, here I have it thicker over here, which is telling the viewer that most likely this is getting closer to where the branch is connected to the tree. And then every time my branch stems off, I keep a thickness, but I'm almost going about half the size of my original branch. So when it stems off, it's about half the size of this part of the branch. When this stems off, it's about half the size of this part of the branch. So slowly getting skinnier and skinnier, and then as I work from the left to the right, again, my main branch also gets a little skinnier as well. Now what I'm doing is I'm drawing in my leaves. Now the trick with leaves is try to keep them symmetrical as best as possible. Which symmetrical, what I mean by symmetrical is the same from one side to the other. Now that I'm done with my branch, my leaves, now what I'm going to do is draw in my bird and decide where I want it. Now I left this open right here because this is where I want my bird. I want him to be front, near center, not quite center, but near the center, and have him somewhat large to where he fills up the space. Now how I get my bird down is I like to just start off with a circle. This circle kind of places down how big I want the body, and then I have the head right here, and then I'm going to place in my tail right here. And this is the draft, so now what I can do is go back over with my pencil, kind of darken up those lines. And that's my bird right there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to transfer this drawing to my cardboard. Now when you transfer, you just got to be a little careful and be nice and neat as possible. But I've got some charcoal, and you can do this with pencil or any chalk, but I've got some charcoal, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this down on the back. Now I'm going to set my cardboard down, and now I'm going to set my paper down on top of my cardboard. I don't want to move it too much because I don't want a lot of charcoal on that. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pencil, and with my pencil I'm going to push down on my pencil lines. Trace right back over my design. Once you get done tracing, then what you do is you lift it up, and now you can see how the drawing had transferred onto your cardboard. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to decide what do I want to cut out of my cardboard, and also what do I want to glue on top of my cardboard. So whatever I'm going to cut out on my draft, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put lines down just so that I know what I'm doing. Just so that way I don't forget. I don't get confused. I'm just going to kind of scribble on what I want to cut out. So I know that I want to cut out my branch, and then I'm going to cut out this leaf and this leaf. I'm going to leave those two leaves. And then the other thing that I need to do, I need to retrace over my bird. Because I'm going to place the bird on here. I'm going to glue the bird down so that way the bird is risen up. Now I've got my bird. Now it's time to start cutting out the things I want to cut and leave what I want to leave. All right, guys, now when cutting, I only want to go through the first layer. I don't want to cut all the way through my cardboard. And I don't want to cut the correlated stuff that's in the middle. I really only want to cut just that first layer. So I'm going to use an X-Acto blade. You got to be really, really careful because these are sharp. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut, again, I want to cut out the branch. So I'm going to cut through that first layer. And then what I can do is I can take my X-Acto blade and I can lift up on it. And then I'm going to clean out these areas that are glued down to the other layer. And there I have the start of my branch. So I'm going to make sure that I carefully cut all of my areas that I want to cut out and then carefully lift up on that paper to get off that first layer. Alright guys, now you see that where I took off that first layer, it creates this really cool looking texture that we're going for. Now what I need to do is, if I go back to my original plan, I said that I was going to cut out these two leaves to resemble that texture as well. And then I'm going to cut out my bird, and when I cut out my bird on that layer, I'm going to cut out the wing as well. So now that I'm done cutting out these two leaves, I'm going to leave these two leaves where they are. I'm going to have my branch cut out, and now it's time to move on to the bird. The bird I saved for my scrap piece. Got him transferred on here. Now I'm going to cut out, and when I cut out with the X-Acto blade, I'm going to make sure that I've got to cut down all the way through the opposite side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place down a piece of board so therefore I don't cut on my table. All right, now that I have everything cut out that I want, and I've got my bird set ready to go, Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some black paint and a paintbrush, a small paintbrush, and anywhere where I took that top layer off, I'm going to put some black paint in there, and I'm going to make sure that I get it down inside the grooves. And then since I'm painting these leaves black, I'm going to also paint these leaves black. And then on the bird, I'm going to paint inside the grooves as well. So it looks something like this. All right, now that I've got the areas that I want painted black and I'm inside the grooves here, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take chalk pastels. And with these chalk pastels, I'm going to go ahead and fill in the colors that I want. So I'm going to have a blue sky. I'm going to go back over the top of my grooves with brown, so therefore you get a little bit of a brown and black, you get a variation. And then my leaves are going to be orange and yellow. And then my bird is going to be white with a yellow beak and some yellow feet. So when doing the top of the grooves, all I'm going to do is I'm going to take the chalk pastel and I'm just going to hit the tops of my grooves. Just like that, and then I can push it, smear a little bit. So therefore it really gives me a cool variation. Try my best to keep it in that contained area, try not to get it outside much. Okay? Now that I've got my first layer of chalk pastel in the background, something that's really cool about chalk pastel is you have the opportunity to be able to blend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a darker blue, and on my bottom I'm just going to put on some dark blue and then blend it on up just to give myself just a little bit of variation. One thing that this does is that it makes the eyes kind of rise up when people look at it. And there we've got that variation. And now all I gotta do is glue my bird on. And then I'm done. Guys, have fun with this. This is a neat multimedia project where you're using recycled cardboard to be able to make your product. You are painting to give yourself variations of value and variations of texture. And then you're going back in with that chalk pastel to give that final touch, that really cool look of blending.